wine lovers and the wine curious, you're gonna be so excited that you tuned in for this 10-minute tasting today because it's all about wine gems. What do I mean by that? Well, each of these bottles ticks a lot of important boxes. First off, they're all delicious, but they also over-deliver when it comes to expectations. They're gonna please a wide audience of people, and also the person recommending them has a lot of reasons to do so. And today, that's me. So give me 10 minutes of your time. We're gonna dive into how each of these bottles taste and why all of them are truly wine gems on this 10-minute tasting. This is the Rombauer Carneros Chardonnay 2022 vintage. Now, let me tell you all of the reasons why this bottle is special. First, let's start with the region itself. It comes from Carneros, which is right at the bottom of Napa Valley. It is the coolest region within Napa and fabulous for making Chardonnay. The winery itself and the family behind it have a lot of great taste. In fact, the winery's founders, great aunt Irma, released the first edition of The Joy of Cooking. It's a really famous cookbook. And he himself, Kroner Rombauer, has gone on to make some fabulous California wines, including Chardonnay, which has been a staple of the winery since their first release in the 1980s. Now, let's get on to the wine itself. This is done in 9 months of American oak, and you can really see that with those golden flecks and tones within the glass. Getting into the aromas, this is what you get from some American oak. You get this buttery popcorniness, little bit of like yellow plum, apricot, and apple pastry in there, Meyer lemon, and just like a richness to its aromas. Let's get on to the palate. Textural, really like gliding across the palate. But because we're in Carneros, we have a wonderful levity in its finish. Almost like biting into that perfect crisp apple. You have a little bit of sweetness, but mainly that crispiness right at its core. That's what I love about this style of Chardonnay and what makes it such a great wine gem. This is the Cape Pastoral Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlo, and we're actually in the 2022 vintage again. We're keeping it going. So Cape Pastoral is a really great winery that wants to capture the rural beauty, fauna, and flora of the Western Cape in South Africa. And they do a great job of capturing this gem of a region. It's even right on the label itself. You can see this sunshine band and the beautiful ecosystem all at play. It's also an organic wine too, so they're really focused on this. So let's get into the bottle itself. It's almost a really good split between the Cabernet and the Merlot, and it's quite a lighter color than you would expect for these two varietals coming together. Really great ruby tone overall. Let's get into the aromas. There's lots of levity here, even from the nose. You get this like fynbos note, which is very classically South African. It's what they call their moss over there, and it's basically like if moss was mintier. That's kind of what it smells like. Lots of floral, purple flower tones, little bit of berries and plums, but also nice spice notes, all coming together to create this beautiful story. Let's get on to the palate. For being a Cabernet Sauvignon Merlot blend, this is a wine with a ton of levity, lots of acidity, lots of great savory notes, a little bit of cherry and berry notes in there. This is a Cabernet for people that don't always like Cabernet. It's a really fun wine in that respect, and it's gonna go with a lot of different foods. You can also even put a chill on this if you'd like to experience it from a different perspective. This is the Wakefield Estate Shiraz 2021, and just like our first wine, this wine is all about focusing on one region, and that happens to be Clare Valley in Australia. Clare Valley is located very close to the city of Adelaide, and it has a great temperature shift or diurnal shift from day to night, which means that it's a region that crafts some beautifully elegant and memorable Shiraz wines. And the three generations at Wakefield really do believe that they are the custodians of translating that into the glass. So let's give it a try. Just like every Shiraz before it, there's a beautiful purple tone and it's very deep. You cannot see my hand through this at all. But let's get into the aromas. Blueberry, blackberry, purple flowers, these like earthy note, but also almost like the dark chocolate you find on the top of a tiramisu. There's a little bit of that mocha edge in there as well. And it just kind of really pulls you into the glass overall. Let's get on to the palate. What I love about a good Clare Valley Shiraz is that you have this kind of wash of fruit, savory, dark chocolatey tones, and then a quick release into this like brightness and acidity. That's what that diurnal shift is doing, making this wine feel so elegant and lifted. It's 14%, but it definitely doesn't feel like it. This is a wine that can go with lamb. This is a wine that can go with a great pasta dish. This is a wine that can go with mushrooms. You can really play with it with a bunch of different foods because of how elegant it is. This is the Jipp Rocks Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon from 2021 vintage, and it's coming from a very unique region in Australia. This is from the Pastoral Valley, which is in Australia's southern peninsula on the western side. What's really unique about this region is that it has terra rossa soils, a lot of proximity to the ocean, and some great sun exposure. So it's a totally different region that you don't always see in Australia, but a great blend that's almost nearly split down the middle between Shiraz and Cabernet. So let's get into this. We have almost this like rustic blue purpley tone coming out of the color of the wine. Oh, and the aromas. This is giving such a great complement between the two. You get these blue and purple notes in there, but these floatings of kind of tobacco mixed with these great aromas of earth. It's so textural, even from the nose. But there's this nice like earthen, savory tone overall. Let's get on to the palate. And the palate, this is a really big wine. It is 14%, over 14% actually, and it feels like that. But you get this almost like salty, savory vibe across the board. More medium acidity, tannins that aren't like too rustic, but are definitely plush. You really have a mouth-filling wine with this, something that's gonna be so, so good with a great meal. And honestly, I would do some nice pork tenderloin. I would even do a veal with this, or even go for kind of like a squash vibe if you want to be more vegetarian. As you can tell, all of these wines are truly wine gems. They tick a lot of different boxes and they have so much going on in each and every single glass. Now, I want to hear from you all. If you've tried these wines before or you have a wine gem that I should know about, put it right down in the comments below. You can also find out in the caption where to get every single one of these bottles and try them for yourself. Cheers, everyone. This has been your 10-minute tasting.